We got to get
At
this
about
going.
35 seconds.
Oof.
Oh, Lord. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Chairman Eisenhower,
Here.
Michael Wesley,
Here.
Ronald Reagan,
Here.
William Mathers.
Here.
Todd Fisher,
Here.
Beth Powell,
Here.
David Tyree. Here. Commissioner Cochran.
We have a quorum. I need a motion to approve the minutes of our August 24th meeting, 2020.
I move to approve the minutes for the meeting of 24th.
I second.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Do we have any reports of the committee, members and staff?
I do have a couple things.
Okay.
The first, on the agenda for variance V23, it says the applicant, Steve Onksley, he is originally represented Nathan George, but Nathan George is the homeowner and he's going to be the one speaking tonight.
Okay.
And then second, with everything going on with COVID, we'll just do the swearing in whenever the applicant walks up or
Okay.
whoever to the mic. And then I do have a little, let me get this screen up here real quick. We just wanted to go through a quick refresher since we do have new member. With new member and our alternate here, just a quick refresher. Just, read through what we're looking for. Really the main thing is on this next page in that when we go through or when you go through all of the four factors, in order to approve the variance, all four of those factors need an affirmative finding. Just so we're all aware. So if we don't have any questions, then I'm all done.
All right, that's new business. You didn't have any old business. That's new business. Okay.
Oh.
All right. We're here tonight to hear two variances. The first variance we're going to hear is variance requested number V20-3 filed by Steve Onksley. Property located at 5200 Mint Ridge Road, tax parcel 195-032-01 from section 6.1 building lot standards and dimensional requirements of the Mint Hill development ordinances. The second variance request is number V20-4 filed by Robert and Connie Inslee, property located at 6500 Long Road, tax parcel number 197-211-10 from section 6.1.2B, lot design standards of the Mint Hill Unified Development Ordinance. And with that, anyone that requesting to speak on either variance can come up to the microphone and I'll ask the question and you can verify it. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge and belief, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got that over with. All right, you wishing to speak, go ahead.
My name is Nathan George, and as was just stated, we're looking at 5200 Mint Ridge Road. And I haven't done this before, so just guide me if need be. But we're looking at making a remodel to the garage, and also outside of the garage, possibly looking at, well, we've already designed and looking at the possibility of a pergola carport, and then also with a similar design covering the existing porch on the back of the property. And as you may be able to see, it's hard to see on that up there, but the dotted lines that's angular to the property show that the setbacks, in fact, that house was built within outside of the setback originally on one corner. And the deck, more than half of it is already outside of that as well. The deck is existing, half covered with a pergola already. We would extend that same look and then a steel roof over that, and then a very similar look over the car or the driveway area. In terms of why, it initially started simply because we thought a covered deck would be nice. And then this past summer, as we started talking about that, realizing where the setbacks were, we realized that may not be possible. But at the same time, we heard from my wife's parents, and this is where we began to design a garage apartment for my wife's parents. And so that then caused us to start thinking about where we would park and other things, hence the growing project. And, that's maybe the overview. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer as to design and other things.
What's the footage going into the setback?
The footage going into the setback is, well, first of all, the deck is already existing. So what's there is already in the setback. It would just be covered. That's the deck portion. I don't have the exact square footage. I think I could probably read it off this tiny print. On the carport side of things, it's a little bit more because nothing is there now. We're staying very close to the 25-foot setback from the road, the side setback, but it does extend back, as you can see, into the angled portion and it's approximately 11 feet back. In fact, I think if I can read this, it looks like it's actually 7 feet, 7 inches.
That's from the house to the existing car, or to the new carport?
No, that would be from the existing driveway to the edge of the proposed new carport, to the backside. That's the length of what would encroach the setback.
Was there any rhyme or reason to bringing that carport out from the house? It looks like you got I don't know if that's enclosed or an open walkway coming from the existing garage to the new carport.
Correct.
Why was that brought out so far?
That's a good question. I think that was in part because we were trying to get as much light as possible into the apartment instead of covering it. But I've asked my architect about that. If we nix that, we can have a shorter carport, encroach less, and actually get the car completely covered. So that's under review in terms of design. Steve suggested that we go ahead and look at this, and if we can do that, we can certainly do the shorter one.
Yeah, because the more you bring it back to that house, the less you'll
Correct.
have hanging over.
Correct. Yes.
The ordinance permits a deck encroachment in the setback, does it not? Is the fact that it's being covered create the conflict?
Really?
Only 20%, but that's only for the deck.
That's what I'm asking. So the deck
Yes.
is allowed.
I don't know how far of an encroachment that is, so I would need to know the exact encroachment to know if that's more than the 20%.
Did anyone do any research? Was there ever a variance on this property for that deck?
So that
So-
again,
Did anyone do research for a variance already on this property for the deck?
I didn't see anything.
Not for the deck. As far as I understand, there was for just the corner of the house that was built into the setback originally.
So there's a variance for the house, but not.
That one corner of the garage that's already set back, yes, as far as I understand it.
Was the deck built with the house or after the fact?
I don't know for sure, but my strong guess is after the fact.
Are you the original owner of the house?
I'm not.
You're
I bought
not.
it 2 years ago.
So there is a possibility there could have been a variance granted for this house, or we changed
There
our,
was no variance for the house previously.
if there's no variance, then when did we change our rules on the setbacks and that? That would be the other question.
This home was built in,
86, I believe.
let's see here.
It should tell you on Polaris there that deck was
Yeah.
added after the home was built, if they got a permit
Yeah.
for it.
So the deck and the terrace was built in 1986.
Yep.
And the same year the house was built.
I'm wrong then.
Okay.
I don't know how the home was built outside of that.
That's why I'm
Well,
bringing up the question, to even look to see if there was an existing variance, because
There was no existing.
We're,
he said yes on the house.
I assumed there was because of the sales papers on the corner of the garage, the existing garage. But if you've looked and said there's no variance, I would assume he's
I
correct.
did not see any variance for that one.
so I go back to my original question, so to speak. When we changed the ordinance for the setbacks, this house would have been grandfathered or should have been. But when he bought the house 2 years ago, if it was identified that part of the house is in the setback to begin with, I'm trying to figure out how it got away with it and how it got this far.
I don't know. That would have had to have been a misstep along the way somewhere back in the 80s. I mean, there hasn't been a permit pulled for that since.
Since the house and the deck was built, there's been no permits for anything else there.
When you bought the house, were you made aware of the fact there was a setback problem?
Yes, and that's why I suggested that perhaps there was a variance, because the sales, as the sale went through, yes, we saw that the corner of the deck was in the setback. Not the deck, corner of the
Corner of
garage.
your garage, well, and your deck is sitting in the back of in the setback as well.
That is as well, yes.
Large portion of the deck is in the
About 12,
setback.
about 12 feet of it.
Oh, yeah. 80%, 90% of it.
Did you have any problem getting title insurance when you bought the home because of that?
Did not.
It looks like the carport is intended for parking of 3 vehicles. Is that correct? Is
That
why-
was that's our intent.
And it appears that you could accommodate 2 vehicles within the setback. Would it-
That is correct. The reason for the expansion was because we'd be bringing in Patsy's parents, park an extra car, try
Right.
to make it look good. Also, the reason for the extra entrance into what is now it actually would be part of the garage and then into the laundry section was to have a 0 incline entrance for her parents, and then raise the floor of the garage to have a 0 entrance for her parents as well.
Is that breezeway fully covered, or is it,
Yes, that's within the house itself, the structure of the house. Oh, I'm sorry, the breezeway.
Yeah, the
That would
breeze-
be covered, yes.
Yeah. covered, but is it fully enclosed conditioned space, or?
It would not be.
Was the breezeway, it's what, 7 feet? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, that is so tiny.
Because I thought that's what you had said, the breezeway is going to be 7 feet.
No, I said that the portion of the carport extending beyond the existing driveway was 7 feet.
Right, was that done for any potential handicap situation in the future? Because there is a 7-to-1 ratio, I just wondered.
Yes, that is designed to accommodate handicap entrance.
I would like to, could you speak into the mic when you're speaking?
sorry.
You're so far away, we can not hardly hear you up here.
No, I asked if the 7-foot breezeway was actually installed or being put in with the possibility of handicap accessibility in the future. Because there is a 7-to-1 ratio. It's 12 to 1. Is it 12 to 1? Yes. It used to be 7 to 1.
That was a fair amount of conversation when it was being designed, so I can say yes.
Okay.
And that actually wouldn't change if we got rid of what you were asking about, that section where the carport's pulled off the house. If the carport went closer to the house, it would still have the 12.1 incline.
You still have enough,
Still have enough room.
you have enough length to.
Yes, and we may not be
make up
able to
the
park.
Elevation difference.
Correct. There may not be space for 3 cars, but there would be space to have a covered entrance. Yes.
Okay, has any more questions for Ms. Doxson?
I have none.
Okay, right now we're going into our facts finding part of this variance, and we'll be asking questions among ourselves, so you won't need to participate in it, so.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, first one. Unnecessary hardships would result from the strict application of the ordinance. Ms. Powell.
Debbie Powell. The homeowners, unnecessary hardships would result from the strict application of the ordinance. The homeowner's desire to create additional living space to meet their family's needs is reasonable and could not materialize without a variance, therefore causing a hardship.
Mr. Westlake.
I agree with Ms. Powell.
Ms. Watson. What, yeah.
Mathers.
Who?
Mathers.
Mathers. Where did I get Watson?
I have no idea.
Hey, you look like,
For exactly the same reasons, I agree with Ms. Powell.
Mr. Fisher.
I will disagree on that point. It appears to me that the plan could be modified to be in compliance with the setback requirements and still meet the general intent of the expansion.
Mr. Fisher, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I said it appears to me the plan could be slightly modified to comply with the setback requirements under the ordinance.
I don't think you can.
I agree with Ms. Powell and Mr. Mathers.
There you go.
I got it.
Ron Rensler, I agree with Ms. Powell.
David Tyree, I agree with Ms. Powell.
The hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography. Ms. Powell, Mr. Westlake.
Hardship is a result for conditions that are peculiar to the property. The existing house and deck already are in the setback lines.
Mr. Mathers.
I agree the hardship did result from conditions with exactly having everything already built within the lines that are there.
Mr. Fisher.
The setback conditions on the property do present a constraint for the homeowner.
I agree with Mr. Westlake.
Ron Rensler, I agree with Mr. Westlake.
David Tyree, I agree with Mr. Westlake.
Debbie.
That's 3 of them. I got one more somewhere.
Mrs. Powell.
Yeah.
Debbie needs to go.
Oh, okay, Debbie. I didn't start with you, so I forgot you.
Debbie Powell, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar. I'll agree with the applicant's statement that the existing location of the house limits their ability to expand their footprint.
The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that,
You skipped one.
pardon?
You skipped one.
I thought I had.
Hardship taken by the action of the
Oh,
owner.
the hardship does not result from actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. Mr. Mathers.
I agree that it did not result from his actions since he's only owned the home for 2 years, and through the legal process of buying the home, he got title insurance, and he also was able to be aware of everything that was already there.
Mr. Fisher.
I agree. No actions undertaken by the homeowner resulted in the creation of the hardship.
I also agree with Mr. Mathers.
Ron Rensler, I agree with Mr. Mathis.
David Tyree, I agree with Mr. Mathers.
The requested variance, pardon? I keep forgetting Debbie. I usually start with
Debbie and Mike.
Debbie and Mike, yeah. Well, this is unusual.
Would you start with Debbie every time?
Mrs. Powell.
Debbie Powell, the hardship did not result from actions taken by the
Why change
applicant
it up now?
or the property owner. The location of the house was inherited and thus limiting their ability to expand their home to accommodate elderly family members.
Mr. Westlake.
I agree with Ms. Powell and Mr. Mathers.
Okay, I'm back in gear now. All right. The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. Mr. Fisher.
I will disagree that the variance is consistent with the purpose, spirit, and intent of the ordinance, which is to provide for consistent setbacks within the neighborhood.
I agree that requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. Mr. Rensler.
I agree with Mr. Eisenhower.
Mr. Tyree.
David Tyree, I agree with Mr. Eisenhower.
Ms. Powell.
The requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance. A variance would not impact public safety and would be consistent with the intent of the ordinance in that adjacent property will not be affected.
Mr. Westlake.
I agree with Ms. Powell.
Mr. Mathers.
I agree with Ms. Powell and everyone else that has the same attitude, and I'd like to wish the owner good luck taking care of their family, because being someone that's taking care of a lot of my family members, that's going to be a hard life to deal with.
Okay, that ends that portion. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, regarding variance request V 20-3 filed by Steve Oxley for property am I doing the right one? Yeah. For property located at 5200 Mint Ridge Road, being tax parcel number 195-032-01, requesting a variance to section 6.1 building lot standards and dimensional requirements, asking that in addition to his home encroach into the current required 25-foot side setback and 40-foot rear setback, I make a motion to approve the variance for the following reasons. Unnecessary hardships would result from the strict application of the ordinance in that it is reasonable and necessary to allow this additional living space to accommodate the needs of their elderly parents. The hardship results from conditions that are peculiar and that the existing location of the house limits their ability to expand their footprints and accommodate elderly family members. The variance would be consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the ordinance, as adjacent property will suffer no ramifications and it would not impact public safety.
I second.
You have to ask the man over there. Okay,
I'd like to amend what she just,
but he wants to put an amendment to it.
that he moves the carport back out of the 25-foot setback a little bit.
Can we allow that amendment?
So hers would read the same, except they're going to put the stipulation of moving the carport back into the 25-foot setback, or out of this 25-foot setback. Simple.
We don't need to make it worse than what it is.
No.
Okay, amendment accepted. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
And all opposed?
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
One opposed?
I don't want to require the 25, but if I'm the only one that doesn't want to require the 25, then
Just if I could help you with that point of order,
Okay,
the amendment, the original motion,
That has to be voted on first,
well,
or
you can, if somebody made an amendment, what's called a friendly amendment,
we have to add that later.
you don't have to do it. If the person who made the motion, if there's a motion and a second on the floor,
Yeah,
and somebody makes a friendly amendment, the original person that made the motion can accept or deny the friendly amendment. If she denies the friendly amendment, you got to vote up or down the original motion before you can entertain another.
yeah.
okay.
Are you denying?
I'm
the friendly
I'm going
amendment?
to friendly deny the motion.
All right, so basically that vote you just.
I mean, the amendment.
That vote you just took was a little bit out of order, so,
Fine.
the original motion as a second. and-
Second, the original motion.
All right, now
So
we
you
vote
can
on the
turn it
original
down if you
now.
want to.
The original motion without the 25-foot setback on the carport.
Correct. All right, all in favor of the motion that presented by Mrs. Powell, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose?
Opposed.
Opposed. Okay, the original motion stands, granted. Now, we vote on the amendment.
No.
There's no need.
There is no amendment.
No amendment, all right. Hey, that's fine with me.
Passed.
So Mr.
All right,
No, and Mr. was,
okay, the motion is granted and the variance is granted.
you're welcome.
Okay. That's too complicated for me. I quit. Okay. Our next our next variance request is number V 20-4, filed by Robert and Connie Inslee, property located at 6510 Long Road, tax parcel number 197-210-10. And if you're wishing to speak to that, you need to come to the microphone, be sworn in. Okay, do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the truth to your best of your knowledge and belief, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
We have a variance request. It's requesting a variance from section 6.1.2B, lot design standards of the Mint Hill Unified Development Ordinance, property located at 6510 Long Road, tax parcel 197-211-10. The applicant is asking to create lots that result in more than the maximum three access easements to lots without road frontage. Currently, the applicant already has the maximum 3 access encroachment or easements. Gotta start writing bigger. So I gotta get a new pair of glasses. Okay,
Hi, I'm Keith Inslee. This is my wife, Connie Inslee. We inherited this land from Connie's mother and father. They moved here in the 60s, and it's been we raised cows, now it's in a tree farm. Her brother and I and my wife, her mom and dad gave us 2 acres of land to build our home. Gave her brother 2 acres of land to build a home. They, before passing, had the desire for our nephews, my nephew and my son, to build a home there. So their last thing they wanted was for us to grant them land also to build a house. My nephew is living in the old house. My son wants to build a house next to ours. So we're wanting to grant them 2 acres of land. So it would be another easement off of our easement. The 6510 is the large parcel. We have no other access than the main road, Long Road, which is the parcel of her mother and father's old home. And her brother owns that now. So what we're asking is for to add one more easement so our son can build his home.
do we grant variances on easements, or is it that come from the planning board or what? I've been on this for 20-some years, and I've never had
We did an easement once before.
remember.
Yeah, we did an easement that involved Union County, had a different side, and we had one side on the 18th, comes along the 18th green of Old Sycamore, where they had a different variance on that. That's been 4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Is that off Rock Hill Church?
Yeah.
Okay,
I know it.
never mind.
Comes up Rock Hill Church Road.
Yep.
How many acres is involved in all the property that you
66.
inherited?
59.9 acres.
59 acres,
Correct.
and you need an easement.
Are there a total of 3 homes on the original parcel or 4?
There's three.
Three,
There
on
was
the
one-
original parcel.
And you're only
Now,
wanting to
we
build,
had-
build
Yes,
one more?
If you look, there's another slide. I don't know if you have that or not.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, those are two homes. This is the original
Yeah, this one's really hard to see.
from the sixties when this was, and it was, has ours, and they added that home, their home, and, our home. Danny's is, the top right-hand corner, or mom and dad's top left-hand. The house that was original to that location was moved to the one in the center. It's over 100 years old. It is on the easement now. And ours is the longer road that comes down to the bottom right-hand corner. Our son wants to build his home above ours on that slide there. So,
Is this, which one?
Yes.
yes, that's approximately 2.4 acres next to the pond. Our house is to the right there. So we have no other access to this area. The backside is, it backs up to the church, Jimmy Allen's. We have a tree farm back there. And
Also backs up, or we're right beside Old Sycamore Golf Course. I mean, so we're landlocked.
So if we granted the easement, where would it come from? I mean, what, would it cross somebody else's property or
No,
no,
is it your own property?
it's on our own property.
yes,
And you need an easement for your own property?
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I thought that's what I had read. I just wasn't sure. Sometimes I don't,
Yeah, can I just make a quick clarification?
Yeah.
So the variance is not the number of easements, but it's the number of lots accessed by the easements.
so we're
So
doing,
right now, there's three, so this would be the fourth.
I thought they wanted two.
But there's already,
Well, and see, that's a clarification we also need. The one house there that is already
Has an easement.
has an easement, the road goes by it. Is that,
Is that an easement? I mean, that was our question for you.
Will
He's
your
on-
driveway go to the easement?
I'm sorry?
Will your driveway on that home go right out to the easement that's already there?
It is already there.
yes, it
Okay.
passes by all those houses, comes down to ours. We'll cut from our easement at the end over to his house.
So is that an extension of your current easement?
Yes,
Yes.
That's all it is an extension? So it wouldn't be theoretically, it wouldn't be a separate new easement, it's just an extension of the one you have?
yes, an extension,
On your property?
right. The bank would require that he has
an easement to the
easement to his home.
staff to clarify the easement or the buildings on the lots. It's got three on the lot now, right? Three houses on the
If there's
parcel?
A fourth, that would be above what the maximum allowed is accessed by easements.
So
but we're talking building two more houses in there?
No,
Two
sir.
more lots
No,
or
sir,
one?
just one more.
Just one.
Yes.
So where's the nephew got,
He already has a house there.
he's already got one, your brother's
Yes.
got one, you got one, and your son's gonna build one
That's it.
right next door to you, so
Yes, sir.
Correct.
you already have 3 easements off a long road to that property already
Yes.
for the 3 existing houses?
There's
Issue is the
another
fourth easement.
And then your son's house, which is gonna be adjacent to your lot,
Yes.
would come off of your easement from Long Road?
Yes.
Yes.
so we're not really worried about the easement.
We're not really,
We're worried about the number of houses that can be built on that parcel of land.
so my question would be come back to this. You've already got 3 easements that go into 3 properties. They're gonna use the one easement from his property to his son's house, so that's an extension off of that easement. They haven't violated anything. I don't see where there's a problem with the ordinance at this point.
From the way that So in no event shall lots be created that result in more than a maximum of 3 access easements to lots without road frontage.
And we're not creating another easement for road frontage. It's going to use an existing easement. Why does this have to come before?
Why don't we just approve it?
Please answer.
If you don't, I'm Lee Bailey.
Yeah, understand, Lee.
But I'm not the planning director anymore, haven't been planning director for some time, but I think I can shed some light on what the real question is. So there's a limit on the number of lots you can access by a private easement. And the reason for that is, yes, today it's a son, it's a nephew, what have you. But if those lots are created on a private easement and later on sold in 5 years or 25 years, it's no longer the son or anybody else. So you can't really base your question on, is it a family relative or is it somebody they love? It's a question of, is a fourth lot, which is in violation of the ordinance, you can have 3 on private easements, up to 3. If you have a fourth one, you're starting to do a subdivision. You're starting a minor subdivision, and that creates the need to build roads, public roads. So if somebody came into the planning board and said, I want to build 5 new lots, they would have to build a road to public road standards, just for comparison. So that's why this was capped. I'm just trying to give you the history on this. I'm not taking sides in any way, shape, or form. I'm just giving you the background on this. So that's why the number 3 on private easements was limited at 3. And if you see fit, you don't see a hardship, and you collectively agree that a fourth one is in the spirit of the ordinance, that's up to this board. But at some point, somebody might ask, they're doing a minor subdivision. They got a variance. So just to give you a little bit more background, this is just information to consider. Again, not taking sides, I'm just trying to frame it so you understand. You're not granting an easement, you're granting another lot on an existing easement. Not number of houses, not number of easements. It's a fourth lot which isn't allowed by the ordinance. So that's the question they're asking. Can we jump over that 3 and go forward? And they would have to demonstrate a hardship or a reason why.
And we're still talking 4 lots in the middle of 66 acres, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but if anybody came in and asked Nathan and asked the Common Board or asked the town to do 4 lots on 60 acres, we'd say, sure you can, but you gotta have road access for every lot. Public road access for every lot.
But this is coming to the board for us to make that decision, correct?
Because the
But no, this is coming to us to make that decision, correct?
The question to you is not to grant subdivision, is to grant a fourth lot on an easement. And then they would, if you grant it, they would have to go back and record that through the planning staff as a separate lot.
For some reason, I get you're pushing back on this personally pretty hard.
Pardon me?
I get the impression that you're pushing back on this personally fairly hard.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand it because
I understand the issue.
you guys were debating about number of houses and number of easements, but that's not the question in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to frame it for you, that's all.
Let's be honest, they could sell out and there could be 120 houses
Well-
there.
On public roads.
I understand that.
But in looking at this, there's only one tax parcel, right? Is that correct?
65.
There's only one tax parcel
For that.
for the entire thing, no matter, there's 3 houses there now.
Well,
We each have, Danny has,
ours is 6,500. We have our own 2 acres there, but we also own the other 59.9 acres.
So you have, let me get this right, you have individual tax parcels for each residence out there.
No, just for.
They all come under the same tax parcel that's listed here, the 197 to 1110,
that is
for the whole
65
acreage. That includes all 3 existing houses.
with access.
No.
No. That includes all 3 houses in that tax parcel.
They have to be separate parcels.
We have separate parcels.
Do you each pay your own
Tax
tax
IDs.
bill?
We pay
Yes.
our own own, 6,500 pays its own tax bill, but we also pay 6,510, which is the 60 acres.
So you have two tax bills,
You have
correct?
Two tax numbers and three houses.
Two
It
houses.
went two houses.
Two houses.
That's why we're looking for the third.
Would you be deeding the 2 acres to your son?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
it-
and he will-
third tax parcel.
And he'll get a tax parcel on that.
Correct.
And our nephew would also get the 2 acres of the existing house he already lives in. You talking about mother's house? Mother's brick.
It does have road
Right.
frontage, but the way to access that house is come down that easement. You come down maybe a 60, 70 foot to turn into onto their property.
The easement we're talking about right here is on.
Can you
There's the
enlarge that
one
a
you
little
can't
bit?
see. I'm sorry about these pictures. They're the best we could do. See, that is the original house for mother and father. The one,
In the green square there,
yes,
down here on the bottom?
correct. And it has road frontage. That's a dead end road.
Long road dead ends down there, and then you have the easement that comes back in to your house. I see that.
Yes. That is our home there.
Okay.
Where the arrow is?
Yes.
Mint Hill.
And then there's you see that easement comes in where that's at? That white line there?
That white line. And that's all the way back up the long road, the hard surface.
And if you, where's your son gonna build a house? Or your
Right next
nephew?
to
Next to that pond.
To the left, whatever I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
but next to the pond.
Correct,
Between your house and the pond.
correct,
So your son's
Okay.
lot.
And his access is coming off your easement.
correct.
Where's that easement at? I don't see that.
Well, each new lot would need its own 15-foot easement.
See, that's my next question. We need to have this documented here because, we're going through this whole thing. I don't know where that easement is. And we're talking about extending something.
There's no survey that I have on, that I could find on Mecklenburg County. So I'm purely going on what their attorney told me, that there's 3 easements going through that lot.
We have the original documents if you'd like to look at.
Do they show the easement?
It shows the easement. You see it? It's the same one.
This is a shortened, made it smaller version. That's why it's so hard to see.
So without the easement, your son's property would be landlocked, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
The whole 59.9 acres is landlocked,
Except for the easement.
except for the easement.
And our plan is, it's like our mother and father, and they gave it to us.
Stop it, back that up, back it up, right there. Okay, the easement comes into your house, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, to get to the pond over there where your son or nephew, whoever's gonna build a house, it'll come off your easement.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
And that will be only 2 houses on that easement, not 3.
So that house, a long
Pardon?
road is not blocked, correct?
That's
Correct.
So how do you get to your house from that road?
That
Down
easement.
that easement.
Down the easement.
Okay, that's where I'm asking. Where's that?
Well, the easement, if you'll back it up, you see the easement where it comes into
Right
his,
along the property.
it comes into his house.
The green and white line.
Green and white line
Right.
coming in.
Right. And that goes to his house, and the son's gonna build a house over there near the pond. And I don't see but one house on that easement.
That's why I'm asking.
That's his house on the easement.
Pardon?
I don't know what I see.
He said he said he only sees one.
I don't see an
He said
easement.
he
I see
only
the
sees
easement
one house
going
on the
to his house.
Talking to Mike.
One time. One at a time.
I know. Yep. Okay. All right. I'll clarify it. I see the easement coming into their house. And their son's house is gonna be built over near the pond. And he has an easement coming into his house, but there's only one house built on that easement. So why can he not get an easement to go over to his son's house? Because it says it has to have 3 houses on an easement. And I can only see 1 on that easement. And that's that white line going from Long Road up to his house,
But also, see,
Mr. Ensley's house.
in this point, and that's what we were unclear about. Our nephew is the house is along that line also, that we're gonna cut out 2 acres for him. But he's already on the road. The road's been there since the 60s. The house has been there since the 60s.
Okay, well, that means there's 2, I see 2 houses, and that one where your nephew's gonna build, and the one over by the pond. And that would be 3. So if you can have 3 on an easement,
Third easement that
what are we doing?
is to the large 60-acre lot. So this is just a generalization that Mecklenburg County puts in.
Yeah.
So this isn't an exact replica of each individual easement.
Well, okay, well,
The easement on the right, it's two
yeah,
easements.
it does show the easement coming off a long road back to Mr. Inslee's house. And that's the only house I see on that easement. If I'm wrong, point it out to me where there's another house there.
Would you like to see this original?
Where are you talking about on the large lot?
Yeah, coming off of Long Road, coming up to Mr. Inslee's house, that's the easement. That's one house on the easement. If he
Yes.
puts another house on that easement, that'd be 2 houses. You said you could have 3 houses on the easement. Correct?
There can be no more than 3 lots created.
3 lots created. Okay, he's creating one more. There's 1 lot according to Mr. Inslee's house, and then 1 lot where his nephew's gonna
There's a house right here on the left.
be. That's on a separate easement.
And that's.
That doesn't come off the same easement over here that Mr. Inslee's house is on.
Going through that lot.
In this area.
So by creating that new lot.
Around
there
here.
would be 4 easements.
Okay.
Lots.
Nathan, on the one easement is to the house in the back. That one show actually ends down.
Mr. Matthews.
Yeah.
So ends here.
Okay.
We're gonna build here and come off this.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Nathan, what I'd like you to do is the first easement is the long one going to the big house in the back, correct? Right there. That's one easement. Now you said that there are 3 easements. The second one is where? Show me where the second one is.
It's this lot.
All right.
Right here.
That's the second easement. Where is the third
There's the
easement?
third lot right next to it that accesses the 60-acre lot.
But you've only got 2 easements, correct?
There's 3 easements.
Where's the third easement?
Like I said earlier, this is just a generalization of.
I know, but where is the third easement?
I don't see it either.
I only see 2.
I see an easement way up top up here that on that white line up where it says Mint Hill. You got an easement there. It's a white line there. And then you have another white line down here that comes off of the extension of Long Road, which is not Long Road. It's got to be Long Road dead end up here. And it looks like there's an easement there. I see an easement there, and I see an easement over here, and I see an easement
When
there.
discussing this variance, when I was contacted by their attorney, we asked the question, how many easements are currently going through the large lot? And when they answered us, it was 3.
Okay.
The easement that you see on the right is 2 easements right next to each other. So that would make 3 easements going through that.
Okay, but
large lot.
why are there 2 easements next to each other?
Because each lot has to have an 15-foot easement.
But
There's
it's the
nothing built
same
on that.
easement.
There's nothing built on that lot right there. So
There is.
that house down there. Okay. That's all that one lot there, that big lot.
All right, but if you're treating the first house from the road,
I
that
see
could
two.
have road frontage, they theoretically wouldn't have to be on the easement, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, if they have road frontage, they can put a driveway in there anytime they want. They just happen to want to use it and have, over the years, had permission to do it. So that first house at the front should not affect the easement at all.
It doesn't, right? There's 3 lots other than, there's 4 lots total.
Okay, but I'm
One has
still only
frontage.
looking at 2 easements. And I've been doing this a long time. Now, they could have 2 easements on the second one, but if they're sharing it, it's still considered 1 easement.
What's the minimum public street frontage that's required under the ordinance? What's the minimum public street frontage that's required for a lot?
I believe for,
60 feet.
it's like 125 feet. is the minimum
There's no provision for,
lot size.
okay, no provision for a flag lot under the ordinance,
No, it's not allowed.
a flag lot.
Back it up one. Go back to there you go. That's the one.
How do you plan on running off that existing easement? Right?
Cut,
Go left,
cut corner where our land is, his land.
go around
is.
the property line?
Yes. To the
But are
left
you
of it.
going through your property at any point or staying
Well,
on the line?
we have a gravel drive that we would kind of incorporate. So when you come by, it's like someone has a driveway.
Okay.
And they, it's a gravel
So part
drive,
of the easement would go through your property a little bit.
maybe.
Okay.
Corner.
Okay, who owns the property down here at the bottom of, right here at Long Road? I can't point to it because if I could come up here. Okay, I got a better picture here. Anyway, there's a house here that doesn't have an easement. Why couldn't they get an easement that comes off of Long Road back to where your nephew's gonna build a house?
Be going through somebody else's.
They own all that property. It ain't anybody else's property.
We don't own that one in the left-hand corner there.
No, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the one to the left of your easement. You got your easement coming off, going to your house. And okay, then there's a field right there or trees, and then there's a house right there. Why couldn't an easement come off of, say, 200 feet from your easement back down toward that other house and go back to?
You're saying through the trees, right?
Yeah.
Right. That's our property too. That's
That's your property?
Yes.
Well, then what, I mean, just cut a road through there, an easement. I mean,
It's 59 acres that we own. That's my parents gave it to us. We have our own separate little 2 acres long before this happened. And then when they passed away,
So
they
no-
gave it to us.
in other words, you couldn't grant an easement through there to build a house.
Whatever
No.
you tell me, I would love my son to be like.
I'm asking that man right over
I
there.
want to ask a question
Why
too.
couldn't they do that?
Let me ask you another question. The house that's on the corner that you do not own, do they have a legal and binding agreement that says they can use the easement?
Yes, that was my mother's original house. That
Okay,
was my
all right.
parents' house.
I
My
just wondered.
brother owns
Okay.
it now.
I have a different question. The road that you're saying that that would, if you consider this a subdivision, if they put 4 lots on it, what kind of road would have to be built?
That's not true.
Well,
So
then
a minor
whatever he was saying,
Wouldn't have to come up here this.
So he was referring to just, if they wanted to go more than 4, it would be a major subdivision. which
Well, let
would
me-
require,
Which require what? That's what I'm,
it would require you to build all the infrastructure, so full roads, curb gutter. It would have to be approved by the board.
they're not putting more than 4.
From what I understand. So I know at the beginning, you guys talked about 2.
Well, we thought we were supposed to get 2, but looking at the map, it says the one for where our nephew is, and that house, the old original house, already has an easement. So
The old,
all we want is to have, to dedicate those 2 parcels of land for our nephew and our son to be on our property.
and we run up on this by, if the land was passed to us, the wish from my grandmother, grandfather was that they build a home. And we were redoing our will, everything where this land would pass to them. So it's,
I have a question.
But you're saying anything, hang on one second. You're saying anything beyond this, any more building, any lots would literally have to come in front of the town planning, correct? Isn't that what you're talking about? Another house would have to then be considered development, public roading, correct? Anything beyond this?
No, because, right, what we're talking about is the 3 easements.
Mhm.
They have to have exclusive use for each dwelling. So right now, there's there's 3 easements going through that large lot.
Just saying, if this variance was approved, anything beyond that, they couldn't just start building willy-nilly. They'd have to come back in front of the planning board, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question for staff. Muddy the water here. So technically, you have the easement going to their house and the easement going to the big piece of property. That's the 2 easements, correct? And both of those run through that lot that's that has access to Lawyer's Road. So if we grant another easement, that puts 4 easements on that house that they do not own. Is that correct?
Correct.
So how can we
believe
leave?
that is their, that's
My brother.
road.
his brother.
But
My
it's a
brother.
separate piece of property. But the easement we're considering is for their property, correct?
Yes.
So how can we approve it for their property if it's not approved for that first property on the road?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. So there is the easement and it shows on our survey that the easement comes by that house.
Right. What I'm saying is the house that has frontage on Long Road that you don't own. If we grant you another easement, that'll put 4 easements on that piece of property that you do not own. And that's why I'm asking the question, how do we grant you an easement for your property without granting an easement for that other property?
Are you asking if the wrong people are here in front of us? Is what
Okay.
you're asking?
Let me ask you another question.
I think they would have to vote down at the same time.
Right.
Because I don't see how we could give them an easement and not have an easement on the other piece of property.
All right, the person that lives in the corner, do you say that's your brother?
No, my brother owns the property. It's a rental. He's renting. it
Okay,
out. That's my
But
mother's
would
house.
your brother sign off on the
Oh,
easement?
yes.
All right, so
My
you've got,
nephew is
that
his
takes
son.
care of your question. As long as he signs off, there's no problem.
We need to have that signed.
Well, no, the attorney will take care of that. All we're doing is approving them to put it in. It's going to be up to the attorney to go ahead and work out all of the details.
By approving that easement, and if it's mutually agreeable with her brother, it would be allowed to go through.
So we're basically giving that piece of property that they don't own on Long Road and our variance to.
If Mr. Barr agreed.
And he does. It's his son, my nephew.
We could always make our opinion subject to him agreeing to that too.
Well, I think that needs to be done because that person's not here and we don't know if that person would agree.
I have spoken to him, and he has no issue.
If he disagreed, he has a right to be here at this meeting.
Nathan, does the ordinance permit construction of a private street for access to subdivided lots or only a public street?
Would it not solve the problem? They own that land down to the next house. To just say, okay, grant an easement back to where he wants to build. I mean, they own the land, they can grant the easement, and it's off a long road. It doesn't, to me, that would solve all the problems.
Problem that there would be 4 easements.
Wouldn't
Hardly to be
off- off 4 easements off Long Road. Would be only one. They got 1 easement off Long Road, and the next easement would be right through those trees we was talking about, going right back up to the pond. That would be an easement. They could grant that easement because they own the property.
Isn't that first house on the left down there on Long Road?
I'm sorry.
The first house down there on
Go back-
on the
back up
left of the
one.
property?
The one at the corner there?
Yeah, at the corner there, doesn't that have access off a Long Road to that property?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so it doesn't have an easement. So the original house sitting next to that in that property has an easement that comes in. You have an easement, that's 2 easements.
All right.
Trying to say there's 2 sides. I see 2.
So what you're trying to do is put a 3rd easement in for your son's house next to yours. The nephew who's gonna get the other piece of property up there expanded out already has an easement. So we're talking 3 easements for 3 pieces of property, 3 separate homes.
You're talking about currently or with their,
The way it exists right now, you have the house down here on the left has access off a Long Road.
All right.
No easement. The house next to it, which is the original homestead, already has an easement off a Long Road,
Where?
right along the front side of it there.
But that easement goes through that property.
I see them. I guess.
Comes right off a Long Road to that property.
Right.
And then there's a second easement that comes to their home, their existing home right now.
Right.
And then what they're wanting to do is put in another easement for their son's home. The other one that the nephew is going to get the expanded 2 acres next to his father's house has already got an easement. So we're only talking 3 easements with potentially 3 lots that are off the easements.
that's.
The
that's
4th
not
lot's on Long Road,
We were told that there was 3 easements.
but it appears to be only 2. How did we get 3? That's my question.
When I spoke with them to try to figure out how many easements were actually there, they told me that they were going to contact their attorney. He would look through their previous documentation, and I was told by him that there was 3 easements. This is not a set actual easement on Polaris. This is just a line that they drew to try to show where there are easements. And they didn't make it look like there was 2.
But they could still put an easement off a Long Road back to the pond.
So
Between their easement and the regular, their homestead. There's a wooded area there. Couldn't put an easement right straight through there, right up, straight up. It wouldn't be but one, that'd be 1 easement off of 2 easements, actually. Be his easement and then the one he granted to build the son's house up there at the pond. Right through the trees. That'd be coming off Long Road. And the other easements down, that would be the 3rd. The other easements down at the corner down there. If I'm reading it right, I don't know. My glasses might be fogged.
I'm going off what I was told.
So we're kind of basing this off of what the attorney told you, that there's already 3 existing easements there. But when we look at it and look at the map out here and what you pulled up on Polaris, that actual first lot there, which belongs to her brother, has access from Long Road. He's probably 6500 Long Road, isn't he?
No,
That's
that's,
the address?
that was 6520.
6520. then the house next door to it is 6510, which was the original homestead, which has an easement to it off a long road already. What I'm seeing that's before us, regardless of what the attorney told you, and he could be right, he could be wrong, I don't know if anybody who's getting drawings for it, but I only see two easements currently right now. One to the 6510 and one to their property. What they're wanting to do for their son is add a third one to that 2-acre lot. The nephew, where they're going to expand the existing homestead and give him 2 acres, already has an easement to his property. So we're only talking 3 easements with 3 properties, not 4.
According to Blair.
Does that make sense?
So what are we doing here?
What do you think? 2 easements. on one.
Can I ask would that change your vote? I mean, as debating over whether there's 3 or 2, is it going to change the way you vote? I mean, can you not just vote?
It comes down to the ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's like 4 lots involved on it, then there can only be 3 easements on the property. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
And that's not really the case because one is actually located on Long Road
But we're
and does
arguing
not
with
have
this-
an easement to it. So we only have 2 easements.
But we're arguing with the town that's presenting something to us to vote on. So if either vote a yes or no,
I agree with Debbie.
I
We're
don't think
being
we should
presented
sit here.
facts for us to make a decision on.
So sorry, I'm confused. Are we or are we not including the lot that's to the west of the pond?
They're going to do that. But here's what it comes down to, I guess. We need to get a better clarification on the easements. Something where it's been legally granted. And if your lawyer says that there's 3 easements out there, then let's come up with the paperwork so we know where the 3 easements are at with the drawings so that we can properly handle this like we should. Yep. Comment.
Just to clarify, I'm Lee Bailey, I'm off camera, so I just want to say my name so folks know who I am speaking. I haven't looked at any of this. I haven't seen any of this. John and Nathan have handled this, so I can't comment on this case in any way, shape, or form. But I do think you need the recorded plats with the recorded easement so you can make a decision. And obviously, we're not going to have those tonight. So
I agree.
I think, I don't know where the ball got dropped. I don't know if, the applicant didn't turn it in or staff didn't ask for it, but personally, my advice to you is you don't have enough information to make a decision tonight.
Exactly.
I agree. And
So I don't know where it got dropped,
Gary.
but, my apologies, I couldn't tell you though.
I want to make a motion that we table this to the next meeting. And you need to go back to your lawyer or whomever and get if there's 3 easements, we need to find the paperwork and get the proper drawings so that we can handle your situation for you.
Well, okay, could I get some questions asked? All right, so what talking to Nathan, then it was talking about parent tract. Now, we have the parent tract. So does that have anything to do with it?
No, parent tract wouldn't make any difference, I don't think.
All right, so the house that my brother-in-law owns,
Mhm.
we do not own. So if we have the other 60 acres, so is that 3 easements off that 60 acres? Is that the max? Or how is that being counted?
Based on what he was explaining on the ordinance, if we're going to have more than 3 easements or more than 3 tax parcels on the property, it's considered a development, that it has to have public roads at that point. So as long as you don't do anything more than your house, your son, and your nephew's house, I would say you're okay, based on what the ordinance is saying. But if you expand anywhere else, then you're going to have to look at putting in public roads.
But that's another thing. We're landlocked. We can't expand. It's like all the land around us is being developed. We don't have that option unless we buy land.
Unless you should decide to develop yours into a housing project of some sort, then you'd have to put public roads in.
Correct, and that's not the intent. That's not what
Right.
our legacy is going to be to them.
Right. So my suggestion would be, get your lawyer, if he says there's 3 easements, let's find the documentation for it. Let's get the drawings for it. Bring it back to this board. We table you at this point in time to a later point when you can get that. Is that acceptable, Nathan?
I'd also recommend that you get your brother to send a letter that says he's willing to grant the easement if it can be approved.
Does that have to be notarized?
They handle that.
Your attorney should.
I would think staff still that you need to look into if that other property on Long Road needs a variance to do this. So is that a motion?
You want to make a motion, Mr. Vincent? Go ahead and make the motion. You want me to make the motion? I'll make the motion that we table this till we get further information.
Second.
And you contact your lawyers and bring something that we can definitely look at and say, yeah, there's going to be 3 easements on that, or 2 easements or whatever. And we could make a more informed decision. Because right now it's too much back and forth on whether it's 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever amount of easements. And we need clarifications, and your lawyer will be able to clarify that for us.
I second.
I second.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
I made the motion.
Gary,
Howard, who seconded?
I second it.
Somebody did. Everybody did.
it's Wenslake.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mine was somewhere else. So the motion carries. And we're going to table it, and you get with, Nathan, and I couldn't think of Nathan. Get with Nathan and set up another meeting for the board once you have all this information, and we will be able to make an informed decision on it.
Okay, so
Right.
what I'm understanding is do you have any other specific questions other than how many easements are on it?
The easements need
That's
some
basically-
kind of a drawing that shows those easements
Some type of survey.
to the property, some kind of a survey or something.
We have a survey that shows the easements.
It doesn't show it as 2. That one easement is 2. It just says easement, so we don't know if that's 1 or 2 easements.
Okay,
You see what
Right,
I'm
it
saying?
is just a single easement.
Okay, your attorney will be able to pull up
He'll pull up.
the actual easements. And if you can, you've got the drawing, color code them and have your attorney make sure they look accurate as to where they each are, so everybody here can understand. And then also have your attorney work out something with your brother to make sure that that would be okay. And if you do all of that, then it'll help us make the decision that we want to make.
Okay,
Thank you.
I move that we adjourn.
I second that motion.
thank you.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Say aye.
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 Motion carried. We are adjourned. Oh, haven't had many of these. I can only see, I'm like you, Mr. Rensselaer. I can only see 2.
I want to see 2.
I want to talk 2.